Larry, Fort Worth Memories Museum and Groups, and Fort Worth, or YouTube at Fort Worth Memories. Hold on just 1 second. Well, if it'll quit. Here we go. I'm going to style the video. So this is Thursday morning, February 27th. And I'm gonna share it to the internet and memories and live videos. Memories. James is in. Jan is in. Okay, we're eating at Kincaid's on Camp Bowie Saturday at 1. And I'll post the deal as soon as I get off. It rained at my house in the 3 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pouring down. I don't know if everybody else got a little rain, but it definitely was raining. Okay, let's see. Anything else happening that... last night or yesterday evening, the reason I didn't come back around 6 or 6:30 is I had another historian that now lives in Galveston that's a Fort Worth ISD historian. And we talked for about an hour, and I picked her brain about different things. But I learned some stuff. I'd always told everybody that my mother graduated in 43 from Paschal, and that was the last year of the 11th. That was the last year when they graduated 11th grade. That's not right. And 47 is when they started the 12th grade. And she said the reason was the kids were too young to start college. They didn't think that they were mature enough to start college. But then she told me up until and including 1944, if a female teacher got married, she had to resign. And Fort Worth ISD's policy until the 60s was no married teachers allowed. You don't even need to apply. Then when civil rights and all of that came in, they made an exception. The Supreme Court, Brown versus, Topeka, that Supreme Court ruling was in 1944, where they had to integrate the schools. Fort Worth didn't start until 1963. That's 9 years. It's just like Juneteenth. The slaves were already free. Well, it didn't hit Texas for what, 2 years? 3 years? Anyway, so I stand corrected. She said the last graduating class that graduated in the 11th grade was 1946. So my mom graduated 3 years before that. Anyway, so that was kind of interesting. And it was really interesting about, wonder why a teacher, if she was married, she had to resign. I mean, I don't even pretend to know the reason that happened. Anybody got any ideas? Good morning. Yes, Gene Hackman is. There's more to that story. They didn't just all die at the same time. The dog, the wife, and him. He was 95. She was 63, and the dog Santa Fe. So I wonder if they'll ever release what really happened. Campo Verde is reopening. Wow. What's it going to be called? Campo Verde? My friend Smiley Williams' place. You know, they made a movie, You Gotta Believe, about the West Side Little League team, which was a great movie. Bobby Ratliff was a very good friend of mine. He used to come by my shop over on, I guess I was downtown. No, I was on West 5th, I believe. He had this old van because he kept the ball field up to snuff and taken care of. Bobby was a good guy. He was really a good guy. But the reason I bring that up is Smiley Williams, James Williams, who owned Campo Verde, that was the first Little League team from this area that went to Williamsport, and they played in the final game. If they'd won that, they would have been the Little League world champions. And it was Northeast Optimists. A lot of people have never given that group enough recognition, in my opinion. Well, good. Campo Verde reopening. Somebody wants to know the reason you missed the history lesson last night. Well, I mean, it's not that long, so I can tell you. It was about Sam Bass, how he became a outlaw. Good morning. Sam Bass was born in Indiana. His parents had a farm, so back then all the kids worked on the farm. In fact, Sam had, originally he was one of 10. Before he was born, so there was 10, but 2 of those children had already died. Then Sam's mother died when he was about 13 or 14 years old. And so his dad remarried a lady that had 2 or 3 or 4 kids. So then they were 12, counting the stepmom and the father. So that meant there was 10 kids then that were still alive. His dad died, and so their stepmom remarried. You can follow all of this genealogy. The stepmother remarried, and the man she remarried did not get along with Sam. Now, Sam's original parents, the kids didn't go to school. They didn't believe in it. The kids were to work on the farm and do their part for the family. The new stepfather was entirely different. He said, all of y'all are going to go to school. Now, he and the stepmom had one or two children. So he said, y'all are going to go to school, but you're also going to work on the farm. And it was a large farm. I think it was 800 acres. Sam never got a quarter. There's one of our old Breakfast Club members. So Sam, when he was 14 or 15, he figured out that he and his stepdad were not going to get along, because all he had done is his dream all of his life, reading those dime novels, was to be a cowboy, and the way you got to do that is come to Texas. So Sam had asked for some money, just like all the other field hands that got paid, and his stepdad said, no, you're not getting a quarter. And they got into a fist fight, and Sam figured out he better leave because somebody's going to get killed. So all of those farm boys all over the country were very well skilled in shooting with rifles. So Sam leaves, and it's about 30 miles to a town that's got a train station. He didn't have a horse or anything, so he basically walked. And when he got there, they don't know how he got on the train, if he paid for the ticket or just was like a hobo and opened one of the doors on the cars and jumped in. So anyway, Sam gets to Chicago. He's 16 now. He meets a couple of people that are with him for some of his outlaw days. He has a job and makes pretty good money, but it's still not enough money to buy him a horse, a good horse. He wanted a good horse and a good saddle and a pistol. So him and these two friends started robbing anything, stores, general stores, whatever. Their biggest take out of all of them was like $40. So Sam, by hook or crook, got a horse, a saddle, and a gun. He became very good with a gun. And so he comes to Texas. One of the guys that he's friends with, when they get to Texas, he starts this business that makes him pretty successful. We're not sure what the business was, because there wasn't a lot of stuff going on in the 1870s. So Sam and his buddy decide that they're going to buy a herd of cattle and drive them to Kansas. That's where all the money's at. So they bought 800 head. Sam's partner came up with half, and Sam got some credit, but he somehow miraculously came up with his part of the cash and credit. And then they bought another 300 head on credit. So that makes their drive 1,100 head. And so Sam figures out real quick that that's not the life he wants. You got to sit in the saddle day and night, and the cowpokes get anywhere from $20 to $40 a month, but Sam and his partner own the herd, so they're going to get the big part of the pie. The biggest fear of any of those cattle drives back in those days was the cows stampeding. And, wolves, other animals are usually what caused it, or lightning, thunderstrikes. So most of those herds, when they were being driven to Kansas, some of the cowboys would kind of sing to them, keep them calm. Well, Sam figured out real quick, it's hot, you're in the saddle, but if it's pouring down rain, you're still in the saddle. And he told his partner, he said, when we get through with this, I'm done. So they thought they were going to make a lot of money. They did make somewhere around 50,000. They had to pay off their hired hands. They had to pay off the credit money for the 300, and maybe it was 40,000. And so by the time it was all said and done, they had $8,000 left, which is $4,000 apiece, and they both agreed this ain't worth nowhere near that. So they then started, Sam and this one guy started robbing anything they could. They stayed away from banks. They robbed wagon trains and stagecoaches, basically to hit the riders of the stagecoach for their watches and for whatever money. And so a good heist would be $40 and some watches. That'd be unheard of. So Sam started planning, and he said, hey, we need to hit this Union Pacific Railroad. And he had heard from people that worked for UP in the bars, they'd be talking about this money train was coming through and had a lot of money. Well, the James boys had robbed, they were gone after Harriman, the chairman of the board of Union Pacific, and Butch Cassidy and that group, they about wiped them out. So Harriman with Union Pacific they already had safes in one of the cars, the money car, but they put a time lock on it. It could only open after a certain length of time, and they couldn't pry it open. Of course, the hole in the wall, or the Wild Bunch, you remember the movie where they dynamited the whole car, blew up 3/4 of the money. So all of the train robbers said, we can't do that. So they're fixing to get off of the car. They had collected $1,700 from people riding the train and some petty cash somewhere. And just when they were fixing to jump out of the car that was moving, Sam looked over and there was 3 wooden boxes, and it contained $65,000 in gold coin. So that was the biggest heist they'd ever done, by far. So there was 4 of them. The gold was so heavy, the horses had to be lighter than that to get away from the impending posse that would be coming. The next town was only 2 miles away. So they buried the treasure, or buried the gold, and took off and just hung around the town, drinking in the bars. And they said, hey, this is great. We can find out if they're on to us. And they were not. Nobody had recognized them. They had worn red scarves. And so within about a week, one of the members of the gang got arrested trying to rob a general store that he had purchased some stuff 2 or 3 weeks before, and one of the things he purchased was red scarves. So the law figured out real quick he was in on it. But these outlaws had made a pact that if they get caught, they'll hold out. They will not tell who. And there was 3 of them that ended up getting shot, and they never did divulge who it was. So Sam and them decided, well, the heat's off. We can ride back over and get our gold and go on. On the way, there was a group of cavalrymen, and they came up behind Sam's wagon, and of course they just looked like dirt farmers. And Sam said, well, what are y'all doing? Y'all are in a hurry. And they said, we're chasing these bandits. And they had figured out it was Sam and his gang. Well, they're sitting there talking to Sam. That's why yesterday evening I said, this is a great example of why I don't believe Bass Reeves arrested 4,000 people. There's no photos of these people. How do they know that was who they were? So Sam and his group rode along for 3 or 4 days with the cavalry. The cavalry was looking for them. They would bivouac right there with the cavalrymen. So anyway, Sam got away. One of his other guys got shot and killed. Never divulged anything. But the Pinkertons, the Texas Rangers, the U.S. Army, Wells Fargo, everybody was on them. So the Texas Rangers went to a guy that was previously in Sam's gang and said, hey, look, we got you on a bunch of minor crimes. What we want you to do is go infiltrate the group again and tip us off where they're going to hit next. So he did, and Sam was fully fooled. He took this guy in like that he was his best friend. And Sam one morning got up. He was real impulsive. He woke up and said, all right, let's ride to Waco. We're going to rob the bank there. Well, the guy that's going to turn the evidence on him says, Sam, that's a bad move, man. Waco's not very big. We're going to get caught for sure. Let's go to Round Rock. And so after 4 or 5 hours, Sam said, okay, we'll go to Round Rock. This guy gets away somehow, gets to a telegraph, and telegraphs the Texas Rangers that's where it's going to be. And of course, when they got there, the people inside the bank that were working there were not bankers, they were the Texas Rangers. And so Sam gets shot up real bad, rides off, he gets about a half mile away, falls off his horse, and he ends up dying there. So that is the story of Sam Bass. And yeah, he was in the acre a lot. And everybody in the acre knew who he was. Sam was really a hothead. He'd just soon shoot you as look at you. But there again, I really find it hard to believe that, and I'm not trying to put a knock on Bass Reeves, but 4,000 men, and I even Googled on 2 different search engines how many of those 4,000 was probably mistaken identity, and they said none. Well, how would they know that? You're talking about the 1870s. And Sam Bass and Bass Reeves were both active in the 1870s. So I don't understand why he didn't get picked, because that judge, the hanging judge from Arkansas, Texas was definitely in his region. Why didn't he say you need to go out and get Sam Bass? Anyway, but like I say, Bass Reeves, he did great. 32 years, he arrested lots of people, but I really think that a bunch of them, I'd say more than 25%, maybe 30 or 40%, because there was nobody knew who any of those people looked like. The Wild Bunch, the only photo out of the whole Wild Bunch was Butch Cassidy or Leroy Parker's prison photo from Utah. Jesse, Billy the Kid, they didn't have a wanted poster on him. There was a wanted poster on the James brothers. But yeah, I'm still baffled about anybody that's with the Fort Worth ISD. Maybe I'll send that message to Toby Jackson. So if a female teacher got married, she had to resign. Now I wonder if that's just for the female teachers, or was there any male teachers previous to 44? I'm sure there was, or there might not have been. And also, kind of a black eye on Fort Worth ISD, the Supreme Court ruling with Brown versus Topeka, that was 1954, so 55 or 56 or 7 at the very latest, they should have been integrating all the schools. It was 63 before Fort Worth ISD. made that a law. Okay, so we're eating at Kincaid's. Anybody got any questions? Hadn't heard from Cleburne yet. Wonder what that deal is. They always are Johnny on the spot. Let me answer some of these. Does this group, Fort Worth Memories, still do Saturday breakfast or lunch? Where this Saturday? Yes. Kincaid's on Camp Bowie. At 1. I remember her. Ellen F-E-I-F-E-L-K, Fake. I think she's a caregiver at a, I don't know if she goes into homes and does it, or it's at a old folks home or what. But yeah, I remember her. I've done detail work for her. Okay, so no questions there. The giveaway is December 13th. Yes, it's a nonprofit. That's a business. That's good. Never, don't know who they are. Okay, it's almost 8, the witching hour. I got to get out here and get open. I cleaned up one of these Range Rovers, or not Range Rovers, but Polaris Rangers yesterday, and of course it rained here on it. I'm going to have to go out and kind of clean that up. So again, I stand corrected. I said 1944 started the 12th grade. It was 1947. I missed it by 3 years. I don't know how that happened. Okay, so let's do our sponsors. There is Yellow Snake Horses Brazos River Ranch. Do something different. Pretty weather this weekend. Call and make an appointment, and it's $75 for almost 2 hours of riding, and you do not have to be experienced. Come on, Internet. A-Bird AC and Heating Inc. That's Dub Peacock and his wife. They're very active in our bicycle giveaway, and many years sponsor on our group. So if you got heat or air problems, get a hold of Dub. Eric Walsh is in real estate business. Very active in the community. He's on my board at Larry's Kids. He really brought in a lot of money last year for the kids. Burt Ladner Real Estate, our friend and fellow member Wes Williams is associated with Burt Ladner. Wes is also on the board at Larry's Kids. He and his wife Sarah, I'm telling you, anytime there's any kind of disaster or something that needs some help, Wes and Sarah are first to step up. Steve Coburn, Coburn's Catering. Steve just finished another big year at the stock show, but they've been in business since 1946. I've known some of the Coburns since the 1960s. I think 63 or 64. Gary was the first one I met. There is Dickie Cars, Grateful for Your Trees. This young man does, when I say young man, he's 30-something, but anything to do with trees, Dickie Carr does it. He's Richard Carr's nephew. So he needs the business, and we always try to help all of our sponsors' businesses. There's his uncle, Dickie Carr. Pat and Richard Carr on Dickie Carr Sand and Gravel. They were the first people when we made the giveaway a non-profit, Larry's Kids. They stepped up with a $5,000 check. Fort Worth Lumber, they've been with me forever. Active in the bike giveaway and sponsor on our group. Eric with Express Dent. Dick Regester started that about the same time I started Details 40 years ago. He lives now, Dick lives in Florida, but Eric is the operating partner. They're on White Settlement Road, kind of across from Audubon BMW. It's going to be a good, just look across the street and there is Express Dent. Already done that one. Jenny Stewart is our State Farm insurance lady. Y'all know these rates on this insurance are outrageous, so if you're using Farmers or Allstate or Freeway or whoever, call Jenny's team and get a quote. You'll probably save money. Brandon Cross, Cross Electric, another family-owned business. It's a sponsor on our group. So if you need anything to do with electricity, you get a hold of Brandon Cross, Cross Electric. K-Ranch Roofing, Jorge Hernandez owns that. He's been a sponsor for several years. So if you think you might have roof damage, don't get out there and try to find out yourself. Call Bree at K-Ranch Roofing. She'll set you up an appointment and one of their specialists will come out and they'll get up there and tell you if you got damage or not. Old South Pancake House, Rex Benson owned restaurant in the same parking lot with his new Rex's Bar and Grill, which is the premier sports bar in the Metroplex. And they're looking for you at Rex's to have a lot of people for March Madness. But Old South, getting back to Old South, they're 24/7 on University, 1500 South University Drive. In Burleson, they are open every day, but they close at 9 or 10 at night. So they're not open 24/7. Passport Getaways, if you're planning on a trip or a cruise or you're thinking about doing it next year, whatever, call Passport Getaways. Let them do all the legwork. All you got to do is supply the money and then go enjoy yourself. The Optimist Club of Fort Worth, Jeff Norman heads that group up. They give us a Christmas tree every year. Very nice of them. And they do a lot of great stuff for kids, for youth. Athletics, they give scholarships to TCC. And the Optimist Club is not just Fort Worth or Texas or the United States, they're international. Charlie Garen's Railhead Barbecue. Charlie is our state rep. He's also a member of, or not a member of, he's on the board at Larry's Kids, one of the directors. He brought in a lot of money for the giveaway last year. So we eat at his place pretty often. He's just a good guy. His brother runs, Pete Garen runs the Sid Richardson Foundation. Rains Plumbing. These folks they've really gotten a lot of great reviews from y'all. They've been out on several jobs and it's all good, 5-star. There's Rex's Bar and Grill. It's in the old Macaroni Grill on University, 1500 block, South University. Rex, it was under remodel for, I bet, a year. They put a patio out in the back that seats a couple of hundred. It's a great deal. So we've had a lot of great reviews from people that spent Super Bowl day over there. Like I say, they're ready for March Madness. So tell them Larry sent you. Medicare and Medicaid. Casey Crawl and his team can assist you on all of that. If you try to figure out Medicare or Medicaid, you better get ready to have a headache because you can read that stuff over and over and not know what the heck they're talking about. Call Casey and or his team, and they'll meet you at your place, their place, somewhere in between, whatever. They're just ready to do business. Schwartz and Hanson, Jerry Schwartz and his partner have been sponsors for, I'm trying to think, many, many years. Also very active in our bicycle giveaway. Good people. In fact, Jerry and one of his friends, who is the grandson of Tad Lucas, is going to come Saturday, and we're going to have a powwow about Fort Worth history. Stroud Auto Supply is in the Haltom City, Riverside area. I actually used to buy parts there when I was a kid, 16. So they have continued to make that business thrive. It's a family-owned business. Danny and his wife, I met with them several weeks ago. Just great. Fort Worth, Haltom City, Riverside area, our area people. G2 Garage, Chris and his team at G2 are very active in different events in the community. He's got a new client special going on. When I was Ubering it, one of the Uber drivers picked me up, and on 820 a part of a tire came off an 18-wheeler, and man, when we hit that thing, I thought the front end had fallen out. He went ahead and took me home, and then I said, go back by G2 Garage. He did, and he called me and said, hey, they're great. So they're in the White Settlement area. Phelps Family Auto Care, they're in the Burleson area. Mike Phelps and his family, they've got a great reputation. We've had a lot of people use them, and I've never had a bad report. So they're in the Burleson area. Fort Worth Florist, Jeanette and her team, they got a lot of good reviews after the Valentine rush, but you don't have to have a special occasion. But if weddings, funerals, whatever. Ladies always like flowers. Alpha Design and Build, that's Lance Sanders. They are our remodelers. They will build you, remodel your place, add a second story, put another room on. They do commercial and residential. Clay Winstead, Winstead Paint and Body. I've been using the Winstead family for 40 years. Clay was probably still in school. I'm sure he was. Clay's location is at White Settlement, just past Roberts Cutoff, across from that Crystal Springs compound they just put in. There's Scott Sumner, our IT guru. He builds websites, he does consulting. So he really doesn't, he's got a phone, naturally, he's got several. Best way to get a hold of Scott is go on his email or go to Messenger and message him, and he will call you back. Be sure and leave your phone number. Okay, so please use our sponsors. Somebody's sick with the Cleveland group, the main lady. Oh, okay. I was going to call y'all, see if there was something that I could do. What was the juvenile installation that I was messaging about the other day? I'm not going to say. They're down near Galveston, South Texas. Do I know what the 10-year-old? No, but if he's never going to get out of prison, he's 10. Has to have been a murder, I would think, wouldn't you? But something will change. I'm going to try to stay on top of that and talk to him. the lady said he's got a horrible attitude. That's because something happened to him as a youth. I can tell you what happened to him. I got personal front-hand knowledge of that stuff. Dodge a 2x4 every day when you're 9 or 10 years old. Okay, so I'm gonna get ready to start going here. Don't forget, we're eating at Kincaid's on Camp Bowie. We'll talk more history later. The museum's got to have donations or it's not going to stay afloat, I can tell you. The handwriting's on the wall. I can't pay $5,000 a month for these 2 rooms. They don't bring any income in. It's dead weight. What was I going to do? I was going to post the Kincaid deal. Kincaid's. It said Mincaid's. Sometimes my fingers don't hit the right button, and you can see your grandkids. I mean, they do that stuff in their sleep and not even look. I don't understand it. Okay, there's one. That says 130. That says 130. Here's one. Okay, I posted it. They got those long picnic tables, so usually we all get pretty close to the same table. I remember, thank you. I remember one of our visits last year at Kincaid's. Gene was there, Demick, and so was Renee. I'm going to send Julie a message right now to see if there's any change with Gene. Julie. She said he had lost all of his memory. You know, during the COVID year, 2020, our Boxing in Cowtown program, when it was over, it was in March of 2020, and Gene's been like a father to me, a real father. I said, Gene, promise me you won't get out. You stay home. He said, okay. He didn't. He got COVID. He fell, broke his back. Just problem after problem after problem. Now he's lost his memory, and she said he's in hospice, and that was a few weeks ago. And then Carson Day Sr., his son was there, and we told him too, please don't get out. And he didn't, and he survived all of that and came through with flying colors. But then when Rochelle, his wife, Roseanne, whatever her name was, Mrs. Day, when she passed, he didn't make it long. He died of a broken heart. I can tell you what he died of. When she left, and she passed, everything went out of him. He would come over here and it wouldn't even like the same person. But they've been married I don't know how many decades, probably 40 or 50. So you never know when it's your turn. Again, I want to tell everybody I've been telling everybody the 12th grade started in 44. It started in 47. I was only off by 3 years. Okay, so I'm going to go out here and get started on today's activities. Come by and visit, drop off a donation, or just come by and visit. We've got those t-shirts, Gargon and Icky Twerp. Paul Camfield was Bill Camfield was Icky, and Paul's his son. He lives in Portland. And I'm going to send Dr. B a message today to see if we can get him on tomorrow evening. Now that RFK Jr.'s in, I assume that's going to be Dr. B up there with him. They had tapped him to be the person that would go in front of Congress, to speak at, we need money for this or money for that. RFK Jr. is really changing that stuff up. Well, the whole government's changing up. That accountability email, I love that. I talked to 2 or 3 people yesterday that were in the oil and gas business, and they said we had to do that every day. You had to justify if you took somebody to lunch. Jeff Petrie told me that if he took a client to lunch, when he got through the end of the day, he had to say which people he'd contacted that day, what he thought was going to be the outcome of it, how much money he spent. Just accountability. And the government, hell, 70% of them were working from home. All of that's changed. Some people don't like it. I don't understand why. Just like when they had Obamacare, if we didn't have it, we got fined. But the Congress, they didn't have to have it, or the employees of the federal government, they had other insurance. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for a while, and I'll be back several times. So y'all have a great morning. Be kind to your neighbor. Call one of your family members that you hadn't talked to in a while.